Is this on? Yes. Now I hear myself. That's very well. Please seat here. There are some seats up front. Nice that you're all showed up. Welcome. Great that you're all here. We are here to get to know everything about the artistic practice of Mimi-san. She's part of the artist duo Kimchi and Chips. They're based in Seoul and they work internationally all over the world. So I think it's very special that we have them here in Groningen for the 5th WERC Artist Talk. Yeah, what I would like to say, my name is Marlijn Geurts. I'm normally a program editor and moderator in Amsterdam, but I'm very happy to be here tonight. I will not be the only one asking questions. It's also up to you to ask questions. I like it if it's very interactive. So if you have something to share or something to ask, a question that I won't ask, please raise your hand and just tune in. There will be first an artist talk by Mimi, and then I will ask some questions. And what is also good to know here, that maybe it's good to know who knows Kimchi and Chips already as an artist duo, who is familiar with their practice. Okay, a lot of new people here, that's very good. For those who don't know the work, they are an artist duo. It's an art and technology duo, you could say. They started in 2008 and they worked together since then. And they have spectacular installations. We'll hear a lot about them. And they examine in their work the intersection between art, science, and philosophy. They are both here tonight. Mimi's there and Elliot is here on the front row. But as an artist duo, they always choose who is speaking. And Mimi will be on the stage with me tonight. So she will be the artist that I speak to. But if you have a question that is specifically for Elliot, he will also be there to answer the question. Something about Mimi. She was born in Seoul. She studied digital media art and design in the UK and interaction design in Copenhagen. We will hear a lot about it, but I think her artistic work is really characterized by her interest in Buddhist philosophy. I think she has a great attention to detail, and she's also really willing as an artist to embrace uncertainty or something that is unexpected. So we will hear a lot about it. And she does not only work as a designer, but also as a professor, as a storyteller, a curator, and an artistic director. Before we start, before I give the mic to Mimi, I first would like to invite Olaf from WERC. He's super excited that they are here. So he will share his fascination to get you also super excited.
Yeah, thanks. Just checking. If this works for the stream. Great. Yeah, so everybody, we are super excited that we managed to get Kimchi and Chips here. They were on our long list of people that we might at some point in the future be able to bring to Groningen. And then they happened to be traveling Europe. And they were super flexible about the dates, so we were like, this is amazing, let's bring them over right now and have a nice conversation with them. I'm always asked to introduce sort of, or we as WERC, to introduce something about the people we bring in. And I think I always try to think about the first artwork that we see that sort of got us interested in their practice. Thank you, Daniel. So this is an artwork from 2012. And this was at the time when there was a lot of video mapping happening and a lot of like it was all on buildings, facades, blocks. And then this artwork appeared, and I was actually in Berlin this week, and I mentioned the name Kimchi and Chips, and all of the people there were like, "Yes, I remember the one with the tree or with the bush and the I think it's grayscale scanning, gray code scanning, to find the pixels in the locations." But this for us was a really inspiring artwork because it showed that this really digital medium, the projector, can have a very poetic relationship with nature. I think there's some text in here describing what it's doing and how the projector light is actually sort of changing the way the nature would grow, the plant is growing. I might completely be off topic on this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but why we think this is interesting is because it is highly technical. It is crazy to think about the things they did already then, and it's at the same time super poetical, super pretty. It makes us sort of question the relationship we humans have with nature through technology. And the latest works, I don't even know how to describe them, but they are like this, but then 10 times further into the future, where they harness the pure power of the sun, of the world around us, and they are able to translate them through digital means and give them a power that I think helps us re-establish a connection with nature. I think I've been speaking enough about why we're excited to have them here. So I think I should invite Mimi up to the stage and let you do the better version of this.
Hi, thanks for coming to see my talk today. My name is Mimi. I'm from Seoul, South Korea. And then most of all, what I should say first is my English is then great. So my brain is now working so fast because I'm thinking in Korean first and then translate in English. So it's like there are gonna be a lot of a hole in my talk. So you guys have to use your full imagination to interpret what I'm talking about. So good thing is you might get really confused to understand what I'm saying. A bad thing. But good thing is like maybe all of you can interpret in different way. So even though this one story, even though I'm saying one story, maybe at the end it could be like 50 stories built out to 50 stories, something like that. I hope. So I can maybe really briefly talk about our work and my background and Kimchi and Chips' work, how we initiate our work and how we produce, and then some sort of a working process. And then maybe I can just start with my presentation. So we Kimchi and Chips, me and Elliot Wood, who is sitting in front row, we founded Kimchi and Chips in 2009, and then have been collaborating together. And then I have a background in visual design and visual art, and then Elias got background in physics. So it's kind of a collaboration between some design and technology. And in the beginning, actually, it was like kind of a collaboration with visual art and technology. But now, after 15 years working together, actually, we don't really have a specific role in our studio. We just do everything together. And then we full-time artists, we've been, so what we are doing is normally it's like making lots of a proposal and then try to apply to get commission from either government or institute, and then we make project, and then we tour for the exhibition. And then most of our work is quite a large scale installation, and then we use many different types of materials and many different types of technology. Sometimes we use natural elements in order to create installation. What I have to say also is like what I'm saying today is quite my perspective. So, it's like me and Elia working together from very much a different approach and perspective. So I should actually say what I'm saying doesn't mean everything about kimchi and chips is quite my perspective. Actually, in Korea, we don't really say my. Normally, we say our family, our parents, our mom, our school, something like that. So now when I say in English my, it might, to me, it feels a little bit like quite selfish. So sometimes I might say our, sometimes I might say my, but yeah, doesn't really matter. So I love this title which I made, Perfectly Imperfect. So my personal interest is discovering how this world is perfectly imperfect. So everything human-made, like family, politics, relationships, education, and everything human-made, I think is quite, it's never get perfect. It's somehow really perfectly imperfect. So that's why our life is so interesting, you know, because it is full of uncertainties and then full of process which never ends until as long as we're alive and as long as we experience them, they gonna be always in process. So I'm gonna talk about more or less our process, which always makes trials and errors, and then sometimes some sort of a disaster as well. So before that, I want to just quickly introduce about my background. In early 90s, I started my career as a designer for making magazine. So magazine was like my Instagram at that time. It's like in order to discover really specific content for my interest. And then some technology happened, so CD-ROM just appeared in early 90s in Korea. So me and my friends, we launched CD-ROM magazines for the first time in Korea. So it was a magazine, and then we just put every content inside the CD-ROM without paper print. So we really believed we're gonna succeed. We're gonna be like kind of a startup company in Korea. Maybe we can just colonize every continent in the world, maybe with this magazine. And then maybe after 6 months, after actually 1 year, after 6th edition, of course this business failed. And then it was really obvious because it's like we who made this magazine, like a developer and designer, we had such great computer at that time. And then we were able to make this one, but most of the people, actually, even they didn't have a computer. Many of them didn't have a computer. Somehow we just had a super fantasy about this technology. Okay, we're gonna just make something. And then I had to move on. So every kind of my experience became some bridge for next step. So I move on. I just became internet design, a web designer. And then also, I was kind of a first generation of a web designer in Korea. So started working for Samsung, LG, and many big companies. And then what I've been making was like, big company like Samsung and LG or Hyundai in Korea, they always insist that they are making better life. So whatever they design, whatever they develop, they really try to manipulate people. They are actually making a better life. So I got a little bored, so I moved on. I moved to London and Copenhagen and started designing for more some people who need more specific needs. So I just thought, okay, maybe Samsung can make a better life thing, then I can make maybe better dying. So in order to make well-being design, maybe I can make well-dying design. So, you know, it's like that living is actually dying. Every day we're living means actually every day we're dying. So, of course, I was working for people who wants to live well, but kind of wanted to switch actually that way of my approaching for people, for designing. It doesn't need to be really typically well-being thing. So I was working for some autistic kids or somebody who got terminal cancer or some elderly people who had to leave, who have to move on the nursing home. Yeah, so it was like more or less making scenario for those people, and then my scenario came, and many different from different background, maybe engineer, scientist, or coder or programmer. They use my writing in order to develop really different design or different things. And then this is a kind of what happened in our studio. I think it's like recently, it's we, you know, when Ellie and me have an idea, that idea is really invisible. It's really difficult to explain with language. So quite good way of explaining or a good way of sharing idea is realizing it in real with using, you know, materials or whatever we have in our surroundings. And then, so when we develop idea, either we're doing this kind of a physical prototyping or using all computer programming and simulation to just to see what this idea would be like. Sorry, some of the things doesn't move, but I have actually 100 slides today, but I'm not gonna show everything. It's just quickly, I just gonna show what we are doing. But this slide actually for if you guys have some question, I just can easily open some slides to explain what we are doing. So drawing in there is our internal theme, which we made in 2013. So Elliot might interpret drawing in the air in a different way. This is how we work. We actually never try to merge our opinion together. We just really love to go parallelly going some opinion without agree. So we love, we just, so this, drawing in there is like kind of when we made this theme for the first time, my interpretation about drawing in the air was we can create whatever without hesitation. So no hesitation to talk about stupid idea, no hesitation to confess my ignorance, no hesitation, you know, disagreeing each other, something like that. So it was like quite abstract umbrella that I wanted to have in order to work together, collaborate together, without fighting. Of course, we fight every time we fight, but yeah, anyway. So we've been developing our work under this umbrella, under this theme. So these 4 works were particularly or developed under that theme, which is drawing in the air. When we made that internal theme, drawing in the air, honestly, I never ever expected eventually we ended up being possible to something drawing in the air. So because it was just an abstract theme about, okay, let's to be ready to work together. So, but luckily, or fortunately, we actually became to be able to make our work on which does really fit with this theme. I can start from one work, Lunar Surface. So I've got 9 minutes to go. So, so Lunar Surface is like, I can say it's like technically it's the simplest work, just technically. Also, I'm not really good at explaining the technology we are using. So anyway, but let me do my best. So there is a flag which is sweeping by wind, and then in front of a flag there is a 3D camera which tracks the movement of flag. And then this data of flag movement is sent to the software which we made, and then inside the software there's a virtual sphere. So, oh, sorry. So the left one is a real flag in real world and moving by wind. The right one is a virtual sphere inside the software, and then every intersection where real fabric meets in virtual sphere is reprojected onto the moving fabric. Is it right? Okay, Elliot is like. And then, if we're using long exposure camera, if you take it, then you can capture every layers about that intersection where real fabric meets the surface of a virtual moon. So this is our first try 10 years ago we made. And then we got, so we had those tries, and then we, one day the commissioner in Korea who wanted to redevelop incinerator, which stopped 5 years ago. They wanted to invite us for in an exhibitions, and then we decide to, okay, maybe the incinerator where everything disappeared, maybe we can make the moon, which is a kind of in Korea, in Asia, symbol of a birth. So we put big fabric in 3 different places in incinerator, and then sweeping it, and then track it with a 3D camera, and then using the technology. Oh, maybe, yeah. Sorry. And then using long exposure camera, and then we got really beautiful moons on the photograph. So in photograph, the real fabric vanishes, and then only virtual, sphere, it just appeared as a moon. So this project to me was absolutely stunning in order to discover the blurry boundary between reality and virtuality, and then between presence and absence, and between being and becoming. So started thinking about what's real and what's not real. How can you say the fabric is real, which disappears in the photograph? How can you say the virtual sphere is a virtuality not exists, which actually really strongly existed on the photograph. So we got, this is one of a project which made us pretty close to the theme, which is drawn in there. I can just skip. And then we had a question about how about can we draw something in the maybe using smoke instead, maybe out of a moving fabric. Why not making something in the air? And then we realized in order to draw something with the light in the air, we need really large of a light source. And then at the time we used to use a projectors, and then we realized maybe more than 200 projector we need. Haha, yes, okay, then let's forget about this project. And then Elia come up with the idea about, no, actually there's some way to make it. So he said, it's like, okay, Mimi, so let's think about, just imagine you have one projector, but there's a 200 mirror. So you just put the light to the 200 mirror, and then they just reflect this one light source from the projector into 200, split into 200, and then it's gonna be like using 200 projector. So this is quite difficult technology, but I'm just saying like really, naive way. So, and then we used a curved mirror, and then doing a lot of developing. So if you want to have a question about technology, maybe you can ask later. And then we made actually this kind of a prototyping. One day we kind of made it happen. For instance, it's like, if you just put the light, when they reflect, all reflection actually goes to all different direction. And then in this case, we used really specific calibration technology, which is like all light goes into one spot. So if just one light beam can be really dimmed, but if they land in one point all together, it can be quite strong. Visually, it can be really strong. So this is a real photo which we made it, and then we started writing proposal with this one. And then every proposal we wrote in Korea, we actually failed. And then they are like, maybe it was too risky for them to give funding, because this is because only what we can prove this idea could be something. And then we got some opportunities from British Council in Russia. They had some project in Russia, which is a music festival in middle of nowhere in Russia. It's like really 500 kilometers away from Moscow. And then they accept this idea, so we brought all 200 mirrors from Korea, and I started installing there. The thing is, when we install, we really didn't know if this idea gonna work. So honestly, it was really big risk, because in theory, we knew it might work. Then in practice, we really no idea about if it's gonna work. So that's actually normally how our work works. It's like, normally we have an idea, but before we actually put everything in right place and doing calibration, we can't really say if it's gonna work or not. But we just believe it's gonna work. So therefore we just keep, continue. And then we made it actually. So eventually, one day before opening, everything's set up, calibration done, and then we put the contents. When we put the haze, we were able to see beautiful animation on the air. It's actually already 20 minutes, so maybe I think we can go. Sorry? Yeah, okay, then one more, just a second. Yes. So, it's like once actually that experiments became succeed, we got proper commissions from Stripe Festival in which Eindhoven, yeah. So we finally we were able to actually work with more professionals. Before, only two of us was working for the project, but once we got commission, we were able to work with fabricators and then making proper structures and then designing properly, and then considering about technology, having good production teams, and then inventing some sort of a new solution to make this project better. Yeah, and then doing more precise contents, and then sound design, and then we made second editions, which was more evolved and more. Maybe we can see a little bit of this, and then. We can maybe talk. Yeah.
You're already more welcome for this sharing this. Yeah. I think we can listen for hours to you speaking about your projects, and you are working so long together that you have so many details to share. So maybe we'll come up to a couple of projects. I think Halo is a good one to speak about if I listen to you. Yeah. But maybe to start, you started, like you said, drawing in the air was for me a super abstract concept, and that was my starting point, and we ended up with literally drawing in the air. Can you maybe share a bit? I think it's difficult to share it, but how you from such an abstract concept try to visualize. How do I visualize this, or how do I embody this in a installation? How does your mind work then a bit to make this step, because it's super abstract and then really something concrete, an installation?
Because that maybe it's like kind of two different entities. Me and Elias, we have a different. We've been different. No, we come from different countries, different language, and then different background, and then different way of thinking, and then different worldview. So for me, it's like kind of it didn't really make sense to have such premise, concept or theme, because also I never actually always I don't really think about message first, because when I initiate some project, I rather encounter what this artwork gonna bring to me.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of a more or less like, rather than kind of bring it all project all the way to the journey to make artwork, just the initiating, and then rather than that, really prefer just the initiating, and then kind of looking at how that artwork evolved by himself.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. You see it as also a bit as a natural process that is developing and maybe running almost by
Because
itself.
it's like kind of a growing kid. So I have a son. He's 18 years old, and then if I stop believing that I know my son completely, that's the whole point about. It's like kind of I'm feeding him, but I don't really. I just try to let him just explore his life by himself, something like that. And then, so the drawing in their concept came from like that. It's like more or less like kind of let's have a more abstract umbrella. And then maybe subconsciously, maybe we had some sort of a will to make something something like drawing in there. I don't really know how it happened actually. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I think it's already interesting that you're sharing this. And I'm also visualizing, because you have two minds, and you said like we as an artist duo have really different worldviews, we have different perspectives.
Yeah.
But in the end you present something. Maybe you don't see it as an end installation, but as a phase in a evolving process, if I hear you. But then you bring these two together in a way. Yeah. So when do you see, when can you try to tell about when you realize, yes, this is it. This is, we are now at something that we are both agreeing with this, and that we bring those two worldviews together. Yeah,
I don't really find that moment during process.
No.
Yeah, but quite interesting thing is end of a process, after we finish the work, we write description of our work. Elia writes description of work in English, and I write in Korean. Yeah. We don't really kind of try to write in a bit similar vocabulary there, but once we finish the description each other, it's amazingly we were talking same thing. I found, sometimes people think I interpreted or translated his English, or he translated my Korean into English, but actually we wrote separately. But when I found it, we kind of took one journey together in different routes somehow. And then that route is somehow in some point, it's a forking road. It's a kind of a separate, in some point it's merging point and separate merging point. And then, that's the moment that I found. It's like, actually we've been agreeing each other.
Maybe we can show something of Halo, because I think it's a really fascinating work. And then maybe my question would be, you started with, like, I really like the perfectly imperfection. And I was wondering, like hearing you speak about the process, I can imagine that there's a lot of imperfection, and that you really need to embrace the uncertainty to go on that road and to make a project. And if you present this project and you have this installation, is it important for you to see the imperfection, or is it then hidden in a way, in the projection that you show to people, or that you in the artwork?
Yeah,
so if you, for example, speak about Halo, where's the perfection, the perfectly imperfection for you in this work, for example?
I think maybe that's the answer. Maybe this showing this project could be really helpful for that question to answer. So after light barrier, which I just showed before, at that time we used lots of 600 mirrors, 8 projectors, and haze smoke in the room, and then we actually were able to control everything detail in order to make really perfect visual in the air. So, for instance, it's like brightness of projectors and then density of haze, and all animations and things beautifully actually pre-made it for the project. And then we wanted to bring that project to outdoor, and then inviting some natural element, which is really uncontrollable and unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
So this is sketches which we done for Somerset House. Maybe we can, instead of using projectors, we can use a sunlight. Instead of a haze, we can use a water mist. So maybe we can draw something in the air during daytime in public space where everyone can just encounter this project. So then how to draw the so we talked about like maybe we can draw something which is a circle in the middle of air, and then which can represent the sun. So how about bring suns down to the ground? So then how we can make a sun? So a sun, which is a circle in the air, is you know, for instance, in order to draw the circle, if we have a bunch of tangent line, when they gathered all together, it can make circle. So we thought about maybe using mirror,
Mm-hmm.
which reflect all lights of a sun, light beam of a sun, and then using that all light beam, and then draw the circle in the air. So started with a small mirror in order to discover what's the meaning of a reflection of a sunlight beam in the air. So everything is like, there's no magic behind our installation. There are always labor, and then tries, and then fail, something like that. So, and then we started developing robotic mirrors, which can track the sun's movement.
Mm-hmm.
So these mirrors got 2 servo motors inside, and then they actually are based on that sun's location, they moving. And then obviously it's like started testing with this test with a real mist and then some reflections from the mirrors to see what's gonna look like in the real world.
Just a really short question in between. Like, if we are speaking about this project, how many years are you developing this? Like, how many years does it take?
Yeah, 2 years,
2
and
years,
one
okay.
big failed, and then after one big fail. So total 2 years, 1 year, made a first version,
Yeah.
and then really big failed, and then we learned a lot how to be succeed. And the second version, which is this one, we never say it's a second version, but actually it's a second version, which is succeed. And then there are a lot of labors behind, many different talents, many different patients, many different skills involved this project. So this video shows how we made with all different people, and then how many efforts and how many times are there. And then we actually thought sun is a protagonist,
Mm-hmm.
because without sun we can't draw it. But we realized actually the protagonist is wind, because sun we know where it rises and where it goes.
Yeah.
But wind we can't really, we can't know.
You can control it.
Yeah,
in any
also
way.
we
You can
can't
track
really
it.
control.
No.
Yeah. So over the year, we had to develop this whole mist structure, which works with actually any kind of a random wind force. And then finally, we made this project in 2018, and then we premiered this project in Somerset House in London. And then, as you see, 99 robotic mirror is tracking suns all day long. And then they are slightly different angles because they are all had to draw that tangent line. And then, and then they draw this a circle in middle of air, which is the more over sound. And then every time, this one just happened really in the short moment. You know, it's like you, in order to encounter the halo, we need a sun, we need a proper wind, and then we need, you are waiting, you're anticipating.
And how long, like, if it's there, if this moment is there, is it a couple of seconds? Is it minutes? Is it?
It's just a whook.
Yeah. Okay. It's so short.
Because because it's just a wind.
Yeah.
If a wind is just a kind of a destroy all the mist.
Yeah.
And then the circle is still there, but you can't really see it.
Yeah.
So when we actually presented this project in order to get funding, one of the jury asked me, it's like, oh, that's a really good idea, but what if it's raining? And then, what if it's cloudy and then it's not working? That was his question. And then our answer was like, no, it's still working, it's still there, you just can't see it. You know, it's like, so what you need to do is you have to come back again when sun is there. So everything is happening here, but because you can't see it, you know, if you don't see it, you can't really say it's not there. It's still there, just to come back again. So that's actually.
And then maybe it's interesting because I think you touch upon a very philosophical question, like is the artwork there if the audience sees it, or is the audience not involved in this? How would you say that?
Sorry, say
like the audience is there.
Yeah.
And sometimes people say like an artwork exists because of the audience who is seeing it.
Yeah.
Here you say like the audience, it's still there and the audience can't see it.
Yeah.
So how do you think about, like, if you think about this work and the interaction with the audience, why is it interesting for you, or what are you exploring there?
I think it's like everything is the same. For instance, I think it's like that's artwork. Even, you know, it's like, for instance, if nobody see me, can I say I exist? Yeah, something like that. If I don't see something which is inside of that room, and then you know it exists, something desk exists there, but I don't really know if there's a desk inside the room. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's like so many things in the world. There are something exists, but because we have a super narrow view and a super narrow channel to discover that, so many things actually, there are a lot of things we are missing. But important thing is awareness. Yeah, there are a lot of things which are missing. If I aware that, I think that's actually just enough. So the halo, so many people actually never seen halo happen.
No.
And then they just saw that halo through our video. So many people. Oh, we found a lot of people waiting in order to halo, and then they got text message, and then when they just check a text message, it just happened, and then when they just head up, it's just gone. And then I was.
When did you see it yourself for the first time? Can you remember or not?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because the opening day, the host, they invited lots of press and people and nice catering, but it was raining.
And like, what happened to you? Like, what was your experience when you saw it for the first time?
Wow,
because it's a moment. I think you're working on it for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then you see it.
Yeah. And I was like, it works.
That's it.
Yeah, it works. Oh my God, it works. It wasn't lying. We didn't lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works. And then, you know, it's like there was a kind of a summer in 2018. Every day, we turn on the system and then make sure everything is good. So during 1 month, we never leave actually that installation.
Yeah.
So I saw so many halo, and then this is all halo from different people. So all different shapes from, different people. So there are same repetitions going on.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't happen. It just didn't match it right timing. So it didn't just appear, but still is constantly going on, and then people captured just their moment. Yeah, so.
Yeah. Maybe like, I was wondering, you said like, I have a background in designing, and then you met Elliot, and he has a background in physics. And I was just wondering how your vision or your perspective, because of the cooperation, about what technology can bring to human creativity, or how that relation, did it change because of working together with Elliot? And
I would be really, I was always into technology.
yeah.
I show my failed CD-ROM magazines and web design and things. I think I never been away from technology.
No.
Always. It's just I thought it's really great material in order to create something, or in order to convey some message. It's just super great. Of course, the level of technology which Elliot has is absolutely far beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really amazed by actually the technology which he brings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure if we change it, my way of thinking, but I can say it really inspired all the time.
Yeah.
Inspired me all the time, yeah.
And is it for you important, because I think it's interesting, like you're sharing now all the labor that's behind it, all the difficult technologies that is behind it. But for me, if I see an installation of you, I don't see that because I'm not a technical person.
Yeah.
Is it something that you also want to hide or not show in order to have a certain effect for people who see it?
We never try to hide technology from our work, because it's so obvious this work can't really exist without technology. But technology is only one who actually, only one material which makes this one happen. So, and also in our process, it's like we do everything from cleaning studio, from ordering, tidying up studio, cleaning studio, ordering all materials, and then email back, and then hiring people, finding people, and then contact them. Everything actually we do together, and then that's actually also quite important for creating process.
Yeah.
So everything we had to do is equally important, I kind of a thing. So yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
No. And maybe it's a detail that maybe people don't know, but all the things that you develop technically, you publish open source.
Yes.
Maybe on the one hand, I also think like this is maybe also your source of income, because this is so new, and so you're so inspiring to other artists, or maybe to other people. Yeah. Why do you open source it? Why is it important for you to do that as part of the process? It's not my decision.
Okay. My decision was like, why? Why share it? Let's just keep it in our pocket.
Yeah.
It's like, why you want to share the secret was my opinion. And then actually sharing in the public and as open source is Elliot's decision.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, do you want to say why it's open source?
Well, I mean, I think
yeah, maybe you should give the microphone, because otherwise for the recording, can you, yeah. Yeah.
Sure. I'll give it back to him.
I mean, okay, there's a very practical reason. Like, to monetize something is more effort than making the thing, right? So, like, if you invent something, it's 20% of the business and 80% is marketing and sales. So even if we were to, like, make these things into products, it would mean an entirely different life. You know, we'd be then in the business of monetizing our technology. Coincidentally, at the moment, we're trying to monetize some of our technology. We're making a spin-out company with one of the things we made. But another aspect is it's kind of a self-discipline thing. If you keep everything open source, then you're kind of doing everything in public. So you kind of like keep everything tidy, and you kind of make everything make sense, and you put everything within this wider community, and there's a home for it there where it wouldn't do if it was just in your drawer. The third thing is, like, open source is a very kind of aggressive place. It's full of everyone trying to get their ideas out there, and there isn't this, like, nice church fair where everyone's hanging out together. Actually, people are like, oh, my thing's the best, and everyone should use my tool.
Really competitive.
It is quite competitive, yeah. It's quite competitive, and then people are like, that's the way of spreading their ideas, you know, like they, and that I think it's good to admit that if you're in that world, because it's not necessarily just entirely generosity. There is some kind of narcissism to it as well. And then I think the other aspect is that, like, our works are like sets of ideas which we're putting out into the world, and then those sets of ideas can exist also as these bits of code that people can read, and that's another way of experiencing them or knowing about them.
Thanks. Before maybe I go to the audience, because I can imagine that you have questions. I think it's interesting if you see, we only saw like some projects, but you have a lot, and it's interesting that you can really see it developing all the time, and that the one project leads to the another, and that you have another question and think like, how can we get it even further, or what's the next step? And can you maybe share a bit about maybe your most recent project, and what is the next step for you, or what are you now thinking about to develop? Because, for example, like you said, like we brought in natural elements. So first we thought about how can we draw in the air, and then we thought, okay, what about if we use natural light or natural wind? So how can you maybe share a bit about what's the next step after that for you?
A couple of projects are going on. Last year we actually developed 2 new projects, which I actually didn't put in this slide. And actually one of the project is directed and led by Elliot, so I'm not really ready to explain. And then the other project is directed and led by me. So that so it's more or less my interest. So let me just talk about that project, which is not this one. So last year, one of our new project, which is called Unread Character, which is about endangered language and script. So now I'm speaking English in Netherlands. I'm Korean, but speaking English in Netherlands. Somehow, I quite often think it's like why English is the kind of a common language in the world. Why it shouldn't be Korean, why it shouldn't be Japanese or whatever. Of course, there are like kind of a power structures which causes like kind of a main language and something. And then AI and ChatGPT, I quite often use, not recently actually, recently I started using ChatGPT in order to actually compare how ChatGPT bring answer if I ask in English and if I ask in Korean. It's the same question, but it brings way more rich answer in English, because we know why it brings more. So I was kind of try to look at something disappearing, something endangered, which is like language. And then, there are 7 7,000 languages in the world. It's amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But only 20 languages used for 50% of the population in the world. And then within 100 years, 90% of a language gonna die. That's what linguists said. So that means maybe I thought about maybe 100 years later, everybody in the world could use maybe English. And then another 100 years later, maybe alien just destroyed all English in the world, and then they just brought completely new language which nobody in the earth can speak. So we eventually had to start learning new language from scratch equally, simultaneously, all together, which could be really fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
I'm now imagining what kind of language we would speak in a couple of years. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then anyway, that was a kind of my imagination. Maybe it's like kind of maybe alien or God. They just think it's like, oh my God, I just gave all different language to people in order to just understand all diversity, but now I can see some sort of power structures, and then only a couple of languages are leading in the world, blah blah. Anyway, so we try to look at some endangered script rather than spoken language. So there are 250 writing systems in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and then 57 writing systems are not encoded as a Unicode. Means still people are using 50 writing system in real world, not in digital world. So how they can use it? Can you imagine you just use your script, writing scripts in only real world, and then you can't really use it in the mobile phone and computer? Then can we say that script, which is still alive, but can you say it's still alive? It's actually that script, right?
Yeah.
So I started doing Google Street all day long, going to somewhere in India, which is still some indigenous scripts still exist, but still not encoded. I just kind of do Google Street View journey in order to find maybe somebody doodling the script in their for their door, or somebody just kind of nicely drew in order to make signboard or whatever. So started actually capturing these all kind of endangered script. And then after those kind of research, anyway, we decide to let's make a physical archiving of this endangered indigenous script, which hasn't been encoded. Then how we can make physical archiving? Maybe we can use AI, and then AI can we can train AI for this script, and then the AI can make new. It's not really new. It's quite difficult to actually explain without showing this slides. So anyway, we eventually use AI and then made some physical archiving of this project. But still, I have a lot of a question about this project. Okay, it's like, is it another way of a digital colonize?
Mm-hmm.
The script? Is it really good to actually put this whole indigenous project script using AI and using technology? What does it mean?
Yeah,
something like that. So
fascinating.
Sorry.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So because in order to actually train AI, because this whole script doesn't have a font, how we can train AI, because if you want to train AI to recognize and draw the cat, you just show a bunch of different images of a cat, so they just train it. And then we just decide, okay, we can hire maybe volunteer, and then they can actually make lots of handwriting over this script. So we made a 35,000 all handwriting characters over this script, and then we trained the AI, and eventually we made us installation. That's a kind of a recent project, and then still I really want to develop further, and then what it can be like. So
super interesting to see where it goes. It's already really interesting to listen to this and to hear a bit about how your brain is working and which paths you are following. Do we have time for some questions from the audience? Yeah? Okay. Is there somebody who wants to join in or have a question? Yes. I will repeat you, and there are mics there, so you can just speak.
I have a question about the Halo project, and because I saw that you were using Bayesian statistics, and then I was wondering if that means you rely less on pre-computed knowledge, like where the sun is and stuff.
Okay, I was supposed to repeat this question, but I have to say that I don't get this one.
I'll put the answer in the question. The system uses Bayesian statistics in order to perform a fit model of the characteristics of a heliostat with respect to physical space. Now let me put that out more explicitly. My friend Dan is really good at maths, and he's one of those people that if you give him a problem, he'll make it more complicated because then it'll make it more exciting. And he wanted to make a. Does anyone do machine learning here? Does anyone know? Is it Theano? Yeah, which is like one of these early frameworks. So he made his own framework, which was called Keanu. And it was a Bayesian statistical modeling package for building models in machine learning, right? But using Bayesian statistics. So he was thinking this is a better way of doing things. The technology is now owned by this company called Improbable, and he quit the company when they started doing work for defense companies. So he said, okay, I want out at this point. But we use that system to create mathematical models of each mirror. Now, what does that mean is that we have a virtual environment in which all these mirrors exist, all these robots exist. We know where the sun is in the virtual environment, and what we need is the mapping between the virtual environment and the real 3D physical thing. And that mapping is done with this Bayesian modeling. So we have a robot out in space, and we have a thing that's inside the computer that acts perfectly, and then we have the thing out in the real world which acts imperfectly, right? And then the mapping between the two is done with this Bayesian modeling system. I can talk more in detail afterwards. It's probably better to say how we do it now, which is different, which is a bit more direct.
Anything you learned from this, taking this approach, it's like very unexpected?
I think I learned that like I wanted to do it my own way after, where I could understand everything. Yeah, Dan's great. He got like a really weird mathematical problem, but I figured out how to solve it myself without all the weird maths. And now I can talk about that later if you want.
I hope that answered your question a bit. Is there somebody with another question? Yeah, another one.
About the one with like the virtual moon with the wind and the fabric. Did you know beforehand how much effect the wind would have on the final result?
Oh, actually, technically I'm not really sure, but I think it means like there are some variables which we can actually which we were able to change in order to see the effects. What I really remember is like in order to capture one image, we took more than 1,000 photos by sweeping that fabric in a more different way. But do you want to explain? For instance, sorry about this all. So for instance, we actually have a different shape of a moon. And then, Elia, can you explain this different shape of a moon, how we...
So you can kind of see here this diagonal line across. So that's where one sweep of the fabric has come up and stopped. So that gets a bit brighter because it stopped in the air and it swung back again. And there's a lot of these kind of details. It's like surface details. And that's a mix between like what I call the aesthetic of the error, which is like the way in which the system has limitations. So the depth resolution has this kind of grain to it, which makes this appear. And also, more interestingly though, is like the wind is really different each time, and there's little pockets of air, and it's always going to travel differently, and therefore it will create a different grain as it travels through the air, right? And then, as Mimi says, we might take many, many trials in order to see which one's interesting, because they're all unexpected. We can't control the way in which the air will be, right? Because everything that's happening in the air, if you're rendering like the densities and the velocities of the air, they're every time impossibly different. There's never a way to recreate it exactly the same. Like with Halo, every time it looks different because the air is always doing something different. So here again, it's kind of like trial and error to discover something in the air.
Because how long were the exposures?
I'd say around 20 seconds, 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. So you get a lot of different pictures with a lot of different versions of it.
Yeah, so maybe 1,000 captures of each 30 seconds, for instance. Yeah. No, we kind of curate them.
Viewer question.
Yeah.
From a live streamer for the asking. I think it's about the picture of you, of one of you, in a beamer in a projector, asking if Elliot taking out an RGB disc from the projectors to make them stronger. This one from the.
Here, this one.
Yeah, this is actually really interesting hack.
Right. So, in 2013, I was in this lab in Japan, and we were trying to make I was trying to make very high-speed projectors. So my trick was to take the color wheel out, and the color wheel is this spinning wheel of color filters. And what it does is every time you project a frame, it puts a red filter in front, projects the red image, green filter does the green image, blue filter does the blue image, and it happens so fast that your eye puts them all together. Now, the thing is, because they're coming out in different points in time, if you take the filter out, then you get the red frame and the green frame and the blue frame, but they're all white. And because they're all white, you essentially get a very fast projector. It's going 3 times faster now. So you have a triple frame rate projector, but it's also brighter because it's not going through the filters. So we realized we could do this and take very low-cost projectors and make them twice as bright. And at the time, it was 10 times more expensive to get something twice as bright. So we started doing it with our projects, but in order to, you still have to have the thing connected for it to run. So we realized you smash all of the glass, all of the filters, and you put it back in, and then it'll just run twice as bright. And then we started teaching workshops on this, and some people made some online tutorials about it, and then it spread around. And it's kind of one of those things that's gone and had its own life on the internet, and thankfully some people still have documents out there on how to do it. Our original documents disappeared because they were on HackPad, which disappeared. But we did some workshops, and thankfully some people wrote it up. So yes, that's what we're doing for this particular project.
Yeah.
Also because it's like kind of a when some institute want to invite us, kind of from abroad, we always had to make sure our work maybe needs to be within their budget. So it's like kind of a transport fee was always quite high. So everything also is like when they actually realize what kind of equipment they have to prepare, they were like, projector is too expensive, maybe it's too blah blah. So we kind of also one of our strategies for which that kind of a hacking works for our strategies, as Elia said, is a cheap projector we hacked, make it brighter, and it's so small, it's easy to bring it. Also, it's our equipment, so they don't really need to worry about it's like hiring big, expensive equipment, this project. So that's another maybe way of.
Yeah. Maybe to close off and then have drinks and speak further. For people traveling around Europe, can we see somewhere a project of you? Maybe for people who want to see somewhere something. Is there something they could travel to? Or should we go to Seoul?
Yes. Why not? It's just 14 hours, by flight.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just the other, side of the earth. So why not? So if you have a chance to come to Seoul, definitely don't forget about us, and then email us. And then we don't really have actually plan in Europe this year. Yeah.
Can you share where or not?
Oh,
sorry.
We don't.
Oh, sorry. I
don't.
didn't understand.
So
yeah.
We don't.
Okay.
But we show some big projects in September in National Contemporary Museums in Seoul. So in September during Freeze Arts Fair. So if you have a chance to visit Seoul, yeah.
We should all go there. Yeah, I think that's the conclusion. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you also, Elliot, for sharing from the first row. It was fascinating to listen to.
Thank
I'm
you
going to
so
follow all of your projects and also follow the last project you talked about. Give her a very warm applause.
Thank you.
And I think before we close off, I give the microphone to Joachim for some practical last things.
Yeah, thank you. Some very quick last things. First, some dates for upcoming stuff. Daniel, for the next slide. The last or final artist talk, as planned, is on the 22nd of November with, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Francois Wunschel, his name is on there. Anyway, he's from 1024 Architecture. He co-created MadMapper, so like on the forefront of video mapping. Yeah, Modulated together with Garage Cube, they made MadMapper. So super interesting, very on the forefront of video mapping. Come check it out. Next slide, please. Yes, and then we have June the 6th. We have a Club Forward event for like creators inside of digital artists who want to talk and share their work with other people, talk about their work. It's on June 6th in Grand Theater. We also, together with Grand Theater, we're organizing a container program at Noorderzon. So that's in end of August, 10 days, we're hosting a container at Noorderzon. So please come and visit and see what new people and young artists are making in the digital arts. And the final one again, 2nd of November, write it down already, the last artist talk. And some more general things. If you want to smoke, do it outside, downstairs. And everybody has to be gone here at 11, I'm being told. Okay, thank you very much.